What even is a declension? When you start studying Latin, you will almost certainly start hearing about declensions. And Latin teachers and people who write Latin textbooks will use the term all the time and act like you know what they're talking about. It makes sense to them, and they don't realize just how confusing words like declension and decline and case can be to someone like me who's never studied Latin before. Have no fear. A declension sounds like a big concept, but it's actually quite simple. A declension is just a bunch of different ways that a word can be spelled. Okay, before you freak out, I know I'm oversimplifying it, but really that's all that it is. A declension is just a bunch of different ways that a word can be spelled. Declensions are sets of different spellings. Specifically, declensions are different ways that nouns can be spelled. If you've ever learned about the different parts of speech, like nouns, pronouns, verbs, adverbs, declensions only have to do with nouns. Other parts of speech can have different spellings too, but those different groups of spellings aren't called declensions, they're called something else. Declensions are different ways that nouns can be spelled. Now, before you start thinking that you can just spell nouns any kind of way in Latin and it doesn't matter what you choose, I have slightly bad news for you. It isn't quite that simple. There is a reason that you see certain spellings in certain places. This is what you'll hear referred to as cases. Cases are the reasons that nouns get declined in different ways. And by the way, decline just means spelled. So there are reasons that nouns get spelled in different ways, and the different spellings give the nouns slightly different meanings. For example, the word, a spelling might be land, but if it's spelled differently, it might be lands, like belonging to the land. Or, for example, a word might be boy, but if it was spelled differently, it might mean boys, like B-O-Y apostrophe S. So the different spellings do have slightly different meanings. The cases are the ways that the noun is being used in the sentence, the job that it's doing at that time. Different cases are just different ways that words are being used. Usually you're going to be able to recognize that it's the same word because the spellings are so similar. And that's because the first part of the word, which you'll hear referred to as the stem, stays the same, and only the spelling of the end of the noun changes. So words like terra, terram, terrae, they all mean land. Words like nauta, nautai, nautam, they all mean sailor-ish. They are just spelled differently in different contexts, and the set of different spellings is called a declension. When we say decline a noun, so someone might tell you, decline the word terra, decline the word silva, it just means to change the spelling of the noun so that it has a slightly different meaning. Declining a noun is just going through all the different spellings in the declension. When someone asks you to decline a noun, they might mean two different things. They might mean to write out the full list of the different ways that the noun could be spelled. So you would end up with a list that looks like terra, 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 terram, terra. Or they might mean to change the spelling of the noun so that it's spelled correctly for the way that you're using it in a specific sentence. In other words, they might be asking you to change the spelling for a specific case, which is just another word for job or the way you're using it in a sentence. Either way, being asked to decline a noun just means to write out one or more different spellings of the word. Declensions in Latin might feel scary because you're not only learning new Latin words, but you're also learning new words in English to describe how the Latin language works. Words like declension, decline, and case. And it also might feel scary because you'll soon discover that there are a whole bunch of different declensions or sets of spelling for nouns in Latin. The good news is that your brain is designed to acquire language. It doesn't matter what language it is, your brain is designed to acquire it. And there are ways to make learning Latin feel as easy as it was for you to learn your first language. You are going to do great.